Welcome back. Still to come, covered in tumours and abused in the street. We meet the daughter and mother who suffer the same condition. Their shocking story and fight for acceptance is next. As soon as baby Katie Newell was born, it was clear she was suffering with severe complications. After every feed, Katie projectile vomited and she'd scream every time she was given food. It was only when she was 15 months old that doctors found out why.
Well, Katie was diagnosed with neurofibromatosis, a rare medical condition that causes painful tumours all over her body. Shouted at in the street, Katie joins us now along with her mum Vanessa, her carer, who also suffers with the condition. And to a great, it's a greater or lesser degree, because there are degrees, aren't there?
Yeah, it varies so widely. You know, you can have someone, Katie's quite severely affected.
Yeah.
I'm very mildly affected. My biggest one is that on my hand there.
Yeah.
But compared to Katie, I'm very mild.
And so you say that you knew straight away?
I knew.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know the name of the condition when Katie was born. I just knew many of us in our family had lumps and bumps. I think because I grew up with it, I just took it as part of, and never really sort of knew the name. Katie sort of had a big white mark going around her chest, which later turned into a birthmark, like a cafe spot, and that's how I sort of knew.
Yes.
With Katie.
So the tumours, when they come up, I mean, these aren't things that can be easily removed, is it? I mean, because they have blood vessels going through them, and tell me about that.
The plexiform tumours, where they have like major blood vessels going through and they're attached to thousands of nerves.
Yeah.
So when they're in difficult positions, like in Katie's neck, she's got one lung compressed, she's got them around the pancreatic area, down the spinal cord, they then become a problem, you know, becomes more or less as an emergency.
Right.
They wait for it to get to an emergency before they
even consider removing it.
So for you, which are the ones that give you the most trouble?
I would say the ones mostly near to my lungs, as it caused difficulties for physical activities. Just by walking or just going up the stairs, many things arrange that,
So does it make it difficult to breathe, I guess, if it's on
I get really tired easily,
And as Holly says, they can't be removed because they do have their very rich blood supply, nerve endings, and so do they grow in different places? Could you end up with a new one on a different day and think, oh well, I haven't had that one before?
Yeah, that does happen sometimes. I often see that it gets bigger. And,
I mean, they grow back. She had one removed from her face a couple of years ago, and it started to grow back. And this arm here. It's like, obviously this is quite extensive, and it's taken them a year so far to plan to try and debulk some of this, because we have to have several scans to make sure all the structures and...
You've raised a lot of money, haven't you, to sort of get the best treatment possibly available out there, and one of these treatments was you went over to Boston, didn't you?
Well, yeah, when Katie was quite poorly from like birth to 5, and actually didn't think Katie would reach 5. She was quite poorly, and she got to a stage where her chin was on her chest, and she was fed through a tube on loads of morphine, still in nappies, where she couldn't control her bladder. And she got to about 6, and I just thought, what am I doing? I'm just sitting here waiting for the worst to happen. And then just sort of researched on the internet, fundraised £10,000 and just went over to America to see what they could offer.
And what could they offer?
The difference is, in this country, the surgeons... because Katie, as I said, you know, any operation she has is complex, and they could lose Katie on the table. No surgeon wants to do that. When you go to America, their surgeons give you that choice, where we basically got there and they said she only had 3 months left to live. But then they said, you know, we could lose her on the table. The choice is yours. So the choice for us then was, OK, this is one last shot.
How does that make
you feel?
It sometimes scares me, because at the age of 14, the doctor said to me, you know, you could die through this operation. And I'm like, OK, and I'm just... And I don't know what to say at the time, but,
Well, you've sort of lived your life, haven't you, being told, well, I don't think you'll make it to here, and I don't think you'll make it to there, and then you're lucky to have got here, but you won't make it to there. And you know, you still continue to prove everybody wrong.
Yeah.
She's very stubborn, luckily.
Quite, yeah, well, thank goodness for that.
And what about growing up for you? Because you went to a school where there was sort of similar like-minded people going through different sort of learning difficulties or whatever it was. So school was fine, but college was slightly more tricky for you, wasn't it?
It was. It was more the... I was more overwhelmed because I came from such a secure school. I went to an open college where there was so much more people, and I felt really left out because I felt different. Because I tried too hard to be like them, but instead of just being myself.
And it's that thing, isn't it, where people, instead of coming up and speaking to you and asking you or talking to you about it or finding out, they sort of think, well, I don't really know what to say, so I'm just not going to say anything. So you're sort of completely left by yourself.
It was morale, wasn't it, more than anything? It made Katie realise how much she did depend on help, where, you know, the children are the same age, well, not young adults the same age as Katie, were off going into town having lunch afterwards, where Katie was waiting for her taxi home.
Yes.
You know, and I think I've never known Katie to cry through a surgery, but she was coming home in tears most nights, and it was just more morale that went down rather than...
Well, people have been hugely cruel in the street as well, haven't they, in the shadow?
Yeah.
What sort of people do you deal with?
It's often kids, mostly. Young children will whisper things. I've learned to control that, not to get so upset by it, but as a kid it was hard for me because I felt as if I was the same as them anyway, so why was...
Precisely.
Yeah, like, why was I different?
Yeah. Well, that's where this elephant girl tag comes in, and that's what people have said. Now, it's interesting that the condition with Joseph Merrick, he lived in Britain 100 years ago. We've seen the movie. We know of the Elephant Man. There's confusion over what he suffered with, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
It could have been one or two, or a combination of
They say he has the Proteus syndrome, but there was one documentary, it was on years ago, where somebody, like an expert, did say he wondered if he had both because of how severely he was affected. You know, it was extreme, wasn't it? And you know, they do look similar. If you look at Katie's arms, some of the tumours do look similar, but I mean, I think they just said he has Proteus syndrome.
Yeah, we were having a look at, obviously sort of checking out the facts and things. So they were saying that it could have been type 1 neurofibromatosis and Proteus syndrome. I believe that both conditions may have combined to trigger his severe physical deformities. Their claim, which features, actually, I think there's a new series coming up, actually, looking at the DNA on his bones. How do you feel when you know, rightly or wrongly, because I think the jury's still out on this one, that the people would say, label you in such a way? I mean, I think we said it earlier on, you know, to point out, you know, that it has been said in the past.
It doesn't affect me too much. I mean, there isn't many people who would say it to me, but when it's labelled as that, it doesn't occur to me too much, no.
Well, the thing is that you live your life, and anyone who has neurofibromatosis will live their lives to the best of their ability and get through it, get on with it.
Definitely. I mean, Katie's fantastic. I mean, she always says, I have neurofibromatosis, but neurofibromatosis doesn't have me.
Yes.
No,
so
absolutely.
I just crack on.
And it's that kind of attitude which makes you sort of an inspiration to others, and why you're now writing a book, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I think that's an incredible thing to do, because you can. There's probably not many people that have your sort of courage and actually your outlook, which is incredibly positive.
The thing is about Katie, though, is she doesn't want to write about herself. She's not that sort of... She just wants to write a... what do you want to write? Just like a fiction story, doesn't she? She's a creative writer.
Yeah. So you want to be an author. You want to be an author. Yeah. Well, I mean, you are an inspiration. There's no two ways about it. So much so that you didn't you actually get... You got 2 Child of Courage awards for leading an inspiring life.
Yeah.
Well, you are inspirational. How was your... Because 2 years ago you had your 18th birthday, which was another milestone they said you'd never make. So how was that?
It was amazing. It felt great to have such close people nearby and all this support. It felt great to have so many friends that cared. Yeah.
Oh,
well, it's lovely to meet you, and thank you so much for coming on today, and a long and happy life and a successful author's career.
Yes.
Thank you.
Not at all. Thank you.
Come in and tell us about the book.
And hopefully people who do come across you in the street, you know, if they feel they want to know, will politely come and ask rather than being
just asking,
being silly and shouting. Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
Lovely
Thank you.
For any further help, advice or information on NR1 or anything we've just discussed, have a look at our website, itv.com/thismorning.
We're back after the break with the latest from the soaps. Don't go away.